everyone, this is Gina. In a previous tutorial I showed you how to make this little cut bracelet and I put a closure made of beads on it. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to do a modification of this bracelet with some elongated bicones, and I'm going to show you how to put a toggle clasp on it. So you could use the toggle clasp instruction that I give you for this bracelet for this one also. So if you want to put a toggle on it, you can. But this is the one I'm making today, and let me get you close so you can see what it looks like. So I've made the little cup bezels. They're really pretty. You can see the back is really nice and neat, and they just look like little bezeled rhinestones basically. And then I'm going to put it on, let you see what it looks like, and we'll go look at the material list and get started. So let's see, there we go, and that's what that looks like on, and I think it turned out really pretty. Let me show you the clasping. Look at how cute that is. Just worked out really nice. And previously I couldn't really figure out, I used a Montana Gold, I couldn't figure out what kind of clasping I wanted to use with it, but the antique copper tone works pretty well with it, so that's what I chose. And I do have some of those on the website too. I do have all these bicones and everything you need on the website for this project in a bunch of different colors. Get creative with the colors because I always sell out of the color scheming I used, but know that there are a bunch of other colors you can use. So this is what we've got here, and let's go ahead and look and see what it takes to make this. Okay, for this project today we will be using two types of beads. We will be using a 3x4 rondelle, and this is pink opal. You can also use a 4mm round, that'll work just fine. And we're going to be using an 8x4 bicone. So this is a elongated bicone, and this is opaque peach. We will also be using some seed beads. We're going to be using 11/0 and 15/0s, and these are both Toho, and they are Montana Gold. And then we're going to use a small clasp. This is a rather petite bracelet, so you want to use a fairly small clasp. You don't want a great big one. So this one is probably about a ½ inch. I don't see my ruler, or I would measure it, but it's just a fairly small clasp. You can see the size of it in my hand. And it's antique copper tone. And then we're going to be using 6-pound Fireline. I'm going to use it in the smoke color. Now, unless you're using a really light seed bead, use smoke Fireline, simply because you will be able to see the thread a lot on your seed beads in this particular stitch if you use a really light color against a darker seed bead. So I'm using the Montana Gold, so I'm going to use the smoke. Now, I made a previous tutorial with the main stitch is going to be these little cups that I've made. And in my previous one, I made an ending and a clasp that just works out of the beads. So it just goes like this. However, I'm not going to do that on this one. I'm going to put a regular clasp on so that you can reference this video to put a clasp on this one if you'd like also. I wore this all day and it did fall off once. So if you bring the loop behind, it works better. But these beaded loop things, they just are not the most secure thing in the world. So I'm going to show you how to make a clasp. And if you've made this other little cup bracelet, or you plan to, then you can put a clasp on it the way that I show you how to put a clasp on this particular bracelet. It'll work just fine. So anyway, that's what we're going to be using, a size 12 beading needle, and we are going to put onto our beading needle about 4 to 5 feet of thread. You will need to extend your Fireline during this project, and as always, I will post a link for a video beneath the video player in the description box that will show you how to do that if you do not know how. Okay, let's get started. Okay, we're going to start this project by putting 8 11 seed beads onto your needle, and then you're going to bring them down to the end of the thread. You don't have to leave a long tail, but you need enough to hang on to and to tie a knot with. Then from the tail side, you're going to go up the first two 11 seed beads. Hold on to those two 11's, hold on to the tail, and then pull until you draw these into a circle. Pull on your tail, pull on your working thread, and draw them in nice and tight, just like that. Now we're going to sew all the way around, and I'm going to sew 2 at a time, just basically to establish that's how we're going to sew through this entire unit, is we're going to be working with 2 11's at a time, so that you can distinguish exactly where you need to go as you make your unit. So we're going through the last 2 here. Then we're going to tie a knot with the working thread and the tail thread. So just cross your working thread over your tail thread and then put your tail thread through the loop that results. That's supposed to be easy, but it's not. There. And then we're going to just draw that little knot down between the beads, just like this. So you have a little circle, a little knot, just like that. Now we're going to sew away from this knot because it tends to get in the way. So we're coming out where the knot is, go into 2 11 seed beads, and then go into 2 more. In case your knot draws in those 2, we don't want to try to work in them first. So now we have our thread coming out of these 2 beads right here on top. We're going to put our clasping on first because that allows us to have something to hold on to as we do this first unit, and it just makes things a little bit easier. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick up an 11 seed bead, then we're going to pick up one of our crystals, whether you're using 4mm round or 4x3, doesn't matter. Pick up a crystal and then pick up another 11. And then drop these down to your piece and go through the loop of your clasp. And you can just leave that kind of dangling down there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go through the first 11 and the crystal, and we're going to ignore the second 11 that we put on. And just hold on to that 11 and crystal and pull your needle through and draw your clasp up to the beads, just like this. Okay, so now I've kind of twisted my work, so let me turn it over. Now I'm attached to this side of the beads. I want to go into this side of the beads so that I can attach the entire clasping unit. So I'm going to pick up an 11 seed bead, and I'm going to go into the other side of these 2 beads we're working in, right here, and pull this down. And that is what that should look like, just like that. Now we're going to sew up through this one time, and then we're going to put our embellishment and finish this first unit. Then we'll come up and sew around it one more time, just to make sure everything's secure. So we're coming out of this 11 here. We're going to go up into the 11 under the crystal, through the 11 on top of it, and then through the loop of the clasp. And pull your thread through. Then go around the clasp into the 11 into the crystal, and then into the 11 on the other side of the crystal. And pull your thread through. Then go back through the 2 11's we originally started attaching to, just like this. Now we're going to put an embellishment on top of this little square we've created. It's not really totally square, but if you kind of push your 15's or your 11's around, you can make it look somewhat square. What we need to do is pick up a 15 seed bead and a crystal and a 15, and we're going to skip these 2 11's and go into the third one. So 1, 2, 3, we're going to go into that one and the one behind it. and we're going to pull our thread through and push the little trio of beads on top of that little square we created, just like this. Now we need to attach the other side, so we pick up a 15-0, we come up into the crystal right here. Hold on to everything and pull your thread through and give a little tug, just like that. Now pick up a 15-0 and we're going to attach to the other side of the two 11-0s we started in. So we're going to go into this one here, just like this. And we're going to pull all of this down. And you should have something that looks like this. Now we're going to finish the embellishment around the top to make the cup type bezel, and then we'll sew through the unit again and up through the clasp. So what we're going to do is we're coming out of these 11-0s that we attached the clasping to. We're going to come directly up from the outside in through that 15-0 seed bead. Come up through it, hold on to your piece with your thumb and your finger so you don't pull everything out of whack, and give a little tug, and then pick up two 15-0 seed beads, just like this. We're going to go from this 15-0 we're coming out of into the 15-0 next to it, just like this, and pull. And that should bring those little 15-0s right in a nice little line. If it doesn't, then you've twisted one of your 15-0s back out and try it again from the opposite side of the bead that you're twisted in. Pick up three 15-0 seed beads, and then we're going to go down into this 15-0. So between the anchoring 15-0s, we'll put two 15-0s, and between the long distance on the side here, we'll put three 15-0s. So we're going to go down to this anchoring 15-0 here and pull those three 15-0s down. Then we're going to pick up two 15-0s and we're going to go into the 15-0 next to the one that we're coming out of, right here. I'll get you in even a little closer so you can see, and we'll pull this down. And that will just lay nice and neat right across the bottom of that bead. Then we're going to pick up three 15-0s because we're going from the top to the bottom, covering the side. So we need three. We're going to go into the anchoring 15-0 we started in and the two 15-0s behind it, just like this. And pull these down and around, like that. Now, you are coming out of this 15-0 here, and we need to go into the anchoring 15-0 right next to it. So right here. I'm going to try to get in as close as I possibly can so you can see that. So I'm going into that 15-0. I'm going to pull my thread, make sure my embellishment all the way around is nice, and then I am going to hop back into the beads. But I'm going to go into the 11-0s on the side of the piece. So I'm going from here to here, right here. And I'm going to go two at a time, of course. So I'm going to go into both of these 11-0s here and pull my thread through. Now I'm going to go through the two on the bottom, and make sure you do two at a time because you want to retain the shape that we're trying to achieve here, which is basically a square. Then we're going to go up into the two on the side here, right here. I'm going to hold on to it so I can tug it, and then I'm going to go back into the two my clasping is attached to. I'm going to trim down this tail a little bit just to get it out of my way. I'm going to turn my piece over, and now I'm coming out of the 11-0s right here on the top of the unit here. I am going to go into the 11-0 above that unit and below the clasping. So I'm going to go into that 11-0, the crystal, the 11-0, on top of the crystal, and then through the loop of the clasp. Then we're going to go back down into the 11-0, the crystal, and the 11-0 on the other side of the clasping. See if I can do this. There we go. And pull that through. Now my clasping has 3 runs of thread through it, and it should be fairly secure. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to flip my piece back over. I'm going to go back into these 2 11-0s right beneath the clasping and pull my thread through. And now I can kind of hold on to my clasp, and you can see a little bit better. Now I can go into these 2 11-0s next to where I'm coming out of. And then I'm going to go into these 2 bottom 11-0s here. And now I'm in position to do my unit of bicones between my cup units. So what I want to do, just so that it's available and I don't forget, I'm going to just kind of trim off this tail here. And we are going to begin our next unit. So we're coming out of these 2 bottom beads here. You are going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead. Then you're going to pick up one of your bicones. And these bicones can be sharp, so just kind of check them out and make sure that you have nice ends on them. This one's kind of fat and stubby. I'm really picky about it. So I'm going to pick up this one here. And then I'm going to pick up 4 11-0 seed beads onto my needle. So I've got an 11-0, a bicone, 4 11-0s, and then I'm going to pick up another bicone. And 1 more 11-0. So I'll bring this down and show you what I have. So I have 11-0, bicone, 4 11-0s, bicone, and an 11-0. Now I'm going to come back through. You can turn it over just so you can see it better. Come back through the opposite side of the 2 beads we're coming out of. And I didn't get that tail trimmed very well. So we'll pull this through and turn it over. And this is what you should have. Now we're going to sew through this entire thing. So we're going to go through the 11-0, the bicone, and then this 11-0 here, the one underneath the bicone. Then we're going to go through just these 2 11-0s to establish our shape again. Then we will go 11-0, bicone, and 11-0. And then back through the 2 beads we are attached to. So I'm just going to go underneath my unit like this and go through those 2 11-0s and pull. Now I have to work my way back down to these 2 11-0s down here to make my next unit. So I'm going to go through the 11-0, the bicone, the 11-0 here. And then I'm going to go through these 2 11-0s. I am then going to pick up 6 11-0s onto my needle. Each unit has 8 11-0s in it, but we're sharing 2 that are already on the unit, so we only need 6. So we're going to pick up 6 11-0s. We're going to go into the opposite side of the 2 11-0s we're coming out of, and just those 2, just like that. And we're going to pull the thread through. And now we have a little circle. We're going to sew all the way around it, and then we will make our embellishment. So I'm just turning it over just because it's easier for me to get to. So I'm going to go through these 2 11-0s, and then these 2 11-0s, and then I'll turn it back over and go through these 2 11-0s right there. Now I need to go into the 2 that I'm anchoring to, right here. And here is where I will start my embellishment on top of the beads that we just added. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of straighten up my unit so I can distinguish the 2 bottom beads that I'm going to be attaching to. So we'll be working out of these 2 and these 2 on the bottom. So we're going to pick up a 15-0, and then we're going to pick up a crystal and a 15-0. And we're coming out of these two beads. We're going to go into these two on the bottom, straight across, staying on the side that we're coming out of. So just go straight across and into both of these two beads here. Make sure you have your unit upright so that you're not embellishing on the bottom of your piece. Pull your beads over the top and give a little tug and try to establish the shape you want. And then pick up a 15-0 and go back into the crystal right here. I am going to put my thumb and finger together so that I can give a nice little tug and position that nicely. And then I'm going to pick up another 15-0 and I'm going to go back into the two anchoring beads I started in right here. And pull my thread through. Just like that. Now I need to come up into this 15-0 seed bead from the outside. So I'm in these two 11-0s between the units here. I'm going to go up into this 15-0 right here. And I'm going to pull my thread through. Then I'm going to pick up two 15-0 seed beads. And I'm going to go from this 15-0 I'm coming out of into the 15-0 next to it. From the inside out, as far as the hole is aligned. Just like that. Now I'm going to pick up three 15-0s because I'm going to work down the side of the unit. So I'm going to go from this 15-0 into this one here. And again, finding the hole is sometimes a trick. Go from the outside in into that little bead and then pull those down. Then you're going to pick up two 15-0s and go into the 15-0 next to the one that you just came out of. Pull those beads down, and then we're going up the side, so we pick up three 15-0s. And then go into the 15-0 we started in, and go into at least two of them behind it, if you can. Just keeps things kind of neat. Now we need to go into this little anchoring 15-0, the one we very first started in here. We're going to go down into that 15-0. Turn your piece over and then hop into these two 11-0s. So you're coming right out of this 15-0, you're going to go down into these two 11-0s here. And then you're going to go into the two bottom 11-0s here. Turn it back over. Make sure everything looks good. Arrange it. And that is your first, well, I guess we would call this 3 units if you want to call the bicones a unit. So that's your first 3 units. We're going to make one more bicone unit and get set up for the next cup, and then we'll go to length. So we're coming out of the two 11-0s on the bottom of the unit here. We pick up an 11-0, we pick up a bicone, and we pick up 4 11-0s. Like this. And then we pick up a bicone and 1 11-0. So this is what you have, just like this. We're going to drop it down, and then we're going to go into the opposite side of the two 11-0s that we're coming out of. So I've turned my piece over and I'm going through these two 11-0s right here and pull them up. Now I have to sew up and around everything. So I'm going to go into this 11-0 and the bicone and the 11-0 behind it, just like this. And then I'm going to go through the two 11-0s in the middle here. Up into the 11-0, bicone 11-0 on this side, here, and into the two 11-0s in the previous unit, just like this. Now we have to sew down one more time so we can get down to these beads and make our next unit. So we'll go into the 11-0, the bicone, the 11-0 underneath it, and the two 11-0s down here, and turn your piece over. Now we are going to pick up 6 11-0 seed beads to make our cup unit here, our cup bezel. So pick up 6. Go into the opposite side of the two 11-0s you're coming out of. Ignore the other two, just go through those two in the middle. Pull this down and sew all the way around it, 2 beads at a time. Sew through the side, sew through the bottom, 2, sew through the side 2, and then back up through the top 2. And mine are all weird, so I'm going to try to arrange them so they're not so weird. There we go. And now I can kind of distinguish my 2 bottom beads that I need to attach to. So always make sure that you have 2 on all sides. Now we're going to pick up a 15-0 seed bead. Then we're going to pick up a crystal and a 15-0. And we're going to go straight down across into the 2 bottom beads, just like this. And pull that crystal up along the top of the little 11-0s, just like that. And then pick up a 15-0, go back into the crystal, hold on to the crystal between your thumb and finger, give a tug as you pull that 15-0 up, and that will kind of anchor everything into place. And then pick up a 15-0 seed bead and go into the opposite side of the 2 beads we're attaching to. The 2 11-0s, just like that. Now we're coming out of the 2 11-0s between the bicones here. So we're going to go directly up from the outside in into this 15-0 that we anchored our crystal with. Now we're going to pick up 2 15-0 seed beads. And we're going to go into the 15-0 next to the one that we are coming out of. Pull those down. And then I'm going to pick up 2 15-0 seed beads, or excuse me, 3 15-0 seed beads, because I'm going into cover the side here. So I'm going to pick up 3 15-0s, and I still only have 2. Well, okay, so now I have 3, and I'm going to go into this 15-0 here that anchors on the bottom, and actually get inside there, just like that. And then I am going to pick up 2 15-0s and fill in the space between the 2 anchoring 15-0s on the bottom here. So I'll just go into this 15-0 next to the one I'm coming out of, just like this. Now I'm going to turn this a little, and I'll pick up 3 15-0s. And I will go into the 15-0 I started my embellishment in, and then I'm also going to try to get 2, well, I got all 3, so I got my anchoring also. So at least go through 2 as you come through, and if you can get the anchoring one, that's great. So I've gone through 3 on the top there, and now I'm in the anchoring 15-0, and all I have to do is turn my piece over, and come up into the 11 O's on the back, right here. Pull this down, and then go into the two 11 O's on the bottom of the unit here. And now I am ready to attach my bicones. So just back up the video a little bit until you get the idea of the pattern down, and then just continue doing these stitches with your cup and then your bicones, your cup and then your bicones, until you have 17 units. And I am counting each unit. So I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you get the point. So the bicones and the cups are being considered individual units. And make sure you end on a cup unit. Now, with my 17 units, counting from here to here, I have 6.5 inches. So by the time I put my clasping on this side, I should have, did I say 6.5? Because I thought I said 17. I have 6.5 inches here. So by the time I put my clasping on the end, I should have a 7-inch bracelet. So that will let you know basically how to judge how many units you need to make. Now, you can always put it around your wrist and see what you need too. So that always works out well. Now, I am coming out of my last little cup unit here, and I'm coming out of these two 11 O's on the bottom, just like you would to start another unit. And I am going to pick up an 11 O, and then I'm going to pick up my crystal and an 11 O, and I'm going to drop this down, and then I am going to pick up my clasp and go through the loop. Then I'm going to go back into just the 11 O and the crystal, just like this. And I'm going to grab onto that, and I'm going to hold it and pull everything together until it all lines up. Now, untwist it because inevitably it twists, and you don't want your clasping to be all messed up. So make sure it's laying out nice and neat so that you can attach the other side. Then pick up an 11 O and go back into the two seed beads that you are attaching to on the opposite side. So we're going to go into these two 11 O's on the back side and come through. Just like this. Now, I'm just going to turn it over, and I'm just going to sew through this a couple of times because it's just easier to see where I am at on the back side. So I'm coming out of these two. I'm going to go up into this 11 O. Now, let me position myself again. Clumsy, clumsy. Okay, I'm going to go up into this 11 O, into the crystal, into the 11 O above it, and then into the clasp loop. And then I'm going to come back around, back into the 11 O, into the crystal, and into the 11 O on the other side. And then back into the two 11 O's I'm anchoring to. And then again, I'm going to sew back up and do the exact same thing again. Into the clasp, and then back down into this 11 O, which is getting tight. So I'm just going to go straight through this crystal, pull this through, and then I'll go through this 11 O here, and into my two 11 O's I've attached to. Now, I want to sew away from those two 11 O's a little bit. They're getting kind of tight. So I'm going to go down into these two side ones here. And then I'm going to go down into these two here. And between these two sets of 11 O's, I am going to grab the thread bridge. So I'm just going to go up underneath the thread in between these beads right here. And I'm going to tie a knot. So I'll make a loop, go through the loop, and pull that down. Now I want to sew down through this unit, so I'm going to move this over and down into Bicone. And I'll go into these two 11 O's here. And I'm going to tie a knot between these two sets. If I can find the thread bridge. Right up underneath it. Tie a knot. Then I will sew into these two side beads. And into this one. And you can sew through, knot, and sew through as much as you want. This is where my original knot was or something, or an extension, I don't know. But it's kind of hard to pull through, so let me grab. There we go. And then I'm just going to take this off. And let me see. I have, if you measure halfway through that toggle, I have a 7-inch bracelet. So let's see. I'm going to put it on my wrist. And come here, come here, come here. See what it looks like. Oh yeah, that's pretty. I like that. It's very vintage looking with the colors I use. Of course, you can make this look any way you want. It could look very Southwest if you used like black and turquoise, or you could make it look very sparkly with clear beads. You can make it any style you wanted. You can get these beads in lots of different colors, and I encourage you to try different color schemes and just see what you can come up with. So I do have these beads, all the beads that you need, on my website. If you would like to check it out, it's ggctreasures.com. Otherwise, just get into your stash and find some of your beads that you haven't used and go for it. This is a really pretty little bracelet. I really like it. I'm going to back off even a little more just so you can see the whole situation here. Here's the clasping, which turns out really pretty too, with the little crystals. And then let me take it off and lay it out. Come here. Oh, I got a stray bead again. And get in here. Yeah, I like it. I really like that. It's got a really nice, almost Victorian look or something to it. I don't know. I like it. Anyway, that's this project, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please consider subscribing and clicking the bell so that you get notifications, and perhaps giving me a thumbs up if you feel the need. Okay, I appreciate it. See you next time. Bye-bye.